everyone. Thanks once more for joining us on what is set to be another tremendously interesting, engaging episode of Expert Expertise. As always, I am your host, Frank Edwards, and this week we're very lucky to be joined by a world-renowned expert on yoga.
Hello.
And our expert is Sid Pierce. And Sid, am I pronouncing that correctly?
It's actually pronounced Pierce, Frank, but thank you.
You're very welcome. And to get us started, again, one more time, thank you so much for taking time out of your what I'm sure is a day of meditation and yoga and inner peace to come join us and help educate our listeners out there. So just to get us started, if you could tell me, what is yoga?
Yoga is a fantastic practice, and I apologize for raising my voice. I'm just really excited to be here.
Yeah, we're excited to have you. So could you maybe elaborate a little bit more on what makes it such a great practice?
Sure. Well, I think that as days go by, a lot of tension gets built up in the human body. So if you notice, a lot of people sort of get a little bit hunched over, a little bit contorted inward. And yoga is the process of expanding outward.
Very interesting. And what are some of those movements? I think our listeners would love to hear your favorite pose.
Sure. So one of my favorite poses is the cranky pirate. So that is when you take your right hand, and you put it backwards, and you grab your right foot while you have one eye closed. And then you pull that foot up, so it's like you have a peg leg.
And the closed eye is the eye patch?
Correct.
Excellent.
Yeah. But we don't discriminate against pirates who can't afford eye patches.
Excellent. Very inclusive. I like that. Now, I'll be honest, I feel incredibly tense just seeing that. Tell me where the release comes from that motion.
Yeah, well, holding a pose is very similar to a runner's high. You have to run first for a long time before you get high.
Okay, interesting.
We like to call the pose high.
Okay, pose high. Yeah.
Poses require longer holds. Tell me a little bit about your day, Frank. What happened to you today? Anything frustrating?
Yeah, I mean, just like any other day, I think I went to go get gas in my car, and then by the time I got down at a gas station, I found I'd left my wallet back home. I had to double back and go pick up the wallet.
That can be frustrating. And you know the easiest way to alleviate that frustration is about 45 minutes of foreskin gorilla pose. Yeah, that's where you hug yourself like this, and you turn to the left, and you want to bend ever so slightly, but make sure there's nothing supporting you but yourself, and you want to hold that for about 45 minutes. You'll feel right as rain afterwards.
Interesting. Namaste. And is there something special about namaste to you too? Is there something special? Namaste once more. Namaste a third time. Is there anything special about the number 4 in that pose? Why not 3-skin gorilla, 5-skin gorilla, 12-skin gorilla?
You know, that is a great question, Frank. It's actually FORE.
I see. Like golf. Okay, excellent.
Yes.
And then what about some other poses maybe that might help for other circumstances?
Sure. Well, I had a gentleman come into my studio.
Okay.
And
how tall was he?
He was about 5'3".
5'3". Okay. Brown hair, blonde.
Yeah, it was sort of dirty blonde. He had a mullet.
Okay. Interesting. Okay. Yeah, we like to paint a picture for our viewers here and our listeners, I should say.
Yeah, he had a jean jacket with the arms, the sleeves cut off, and a mullet.
Okay. This is very descriptive. Thank you. Okay, keep going. I'm sorry for interrupting.
Yeah, well, he walked in and told me that his car was stolen. Okay, very detrimental, very devastating. It hurt my heart to hear him tell the story. So what I did was recommend about an hour and a half of triple beef pose.
And could you walk us through the triple beef?
Yes, absolutely. That's when you take your arms, fold them in towards you, lift one up and one down, and then bend backwards so that without bending your neck, you're looking at the ceiling.
Okay. Interesting.
Have you ever
I have to say, I feel very relaxed right now. This is a very natural pose.
Yeah, if you ever get your car stolen, do that for about an hour and a half, and you'll feel great afterwards.
Okay. Interesting. Yeah, that's great to note. I'm going to make a note out there too. I don't own a vehicle anymore after the divorce and whatnot, but when I do eventually acquire another one.
Divorce. Okay, well, there's actually a pose for that also.
Oh, I mean, I'd love to hear it. What would you recommend?
So this would be the Stiff Richard pose.
Stiff Richard, okay.
Yeah, so what you're going to want to do is take your right foot, place it on your left shoulder. Hold it there for about 2 hours.
Hold it for a couple of hours, okay. Just maybe another question that I had prepared I wanted to talk through is, if I'm looking to do a little bit of digging, where does the practice of yoga originate? What is the home of yoga?
Yoga actually started in a forest. There was someone watching a bear do poses in order to entice fish to come around it. I forget the name of that bear. I think it may have been Yogai.
Okay.
It had to feed its cub, Bao.
Interesting. Interesting. And what country was this in?
This was in Australia.
Australia.
Correct.
Okay. Not necessarily known for its bears, but is this a newer practice? Again, I'm pretty unfamiliar with it. I've heard about it. I walk by the studios. I peek in every once in a while, a couple of times, maybe depending on how dark the windows are. But is this something that originated recently, or is this an older practice?
This actually dates back to the 1700s, Frank. You see, back then, knights wore armor in battle, and it was a knight who spotted the bear, and he noticed that he was having difficulty contorting into the shapes that he wanted to, and that's how chainmail was invented.
Interesting. And how did the knight know what shape the bear wanted to be in? Just out of curiosity, is that something that's in the teachings?
Sorry. The bear was in the shape. So he just did the same thing that the bear was already doing and then claimed it for himself. Human.
I mean, it's a real story of perseverance where rather than just take off his armor, the knight went to a blacksmith and had armor custom designed to allow him to do poses to mirror a forest creature, attracting fish that the knight would have hundreds of other reasons to catch. I mean, if you're going to tell a story about perseverance and sticking with it, I think that's it. That's a real commitment.
Yeah, absolutely. And then from that moment on, the battlefields had a lot more action roles happening in them because the knights can move around better.
And you're clearly very knowledgeable, and it's coming through. Where did you get your start in yoga?
I got my start in yoga probably around, I think it was 4 years old. Definitely a young lad. What I did was I walked in on my parents doing what I could only imagine to be a workout video session. My father was holding my mother upside down by her ankles, and she was doing a handstand, and there were several cameras on them. So it must have been a very informative video. So I did a little bit of research, And probably around 5 or 7, I opened my first yoga studio.
Wow. I'm sensing a lot of maturity. I mean, even going back to that memory that I'm sure you'd love to rehash.
Yeah,
Were they doing any poses? I'm sorry, what was that?
Might have been my first memory.
Wow. Okay. And what a descriptive memory it's been. Did you recognize any poses like the beefy gorilla, anything that you saw in there that you later wanted to replicate?
Well, it did teach me my very first secret of yoga. And that secret is that clothes get in the way of finding your Zen.
Interesting. Okay.
Yes.
So I'm just trying to.
They weren't wearing any, and that's how I know.
Yeah, and I'm trying to paint a picture of your practice, and I'm imagining the gentleman from your earlier story that lost his car to some thieves. The gentleman with the mullet and the denim jacket, I'm imagining. So he comes into your studio, he takes off his jacket,
Yes.
and steps into one of the poses with your leadership for 120 minutes, and then that's what put him at peace with the event.
Absolutely.
Okay. Wow.
I know it was his trauma, but I'm getting a little bit emotional just thinking about how just watching someone overcome trauma like that by holding a pose for several hours. It just brings joy to my heart. Namaste.
Namaste once more. Yeah. And do you primarily do one-on-one practice with your yoga acolytes?
Actually, no. Sometimes it's one-on-one, often in a much larger group setting. For some of the poses, you actually need a partner. And not a lot of people realize this, but yoga can actually balance your karma as well, which is why about 85% of my poses are from the Karma Sutra. Namaste.
Oh, namaste once more. Interesting. Okay, yeah, and it's definitely helping paint a picture. I'm getting a little flush over here just hearing about some of it. So it's interesting to hear about your approach to this. And so, do you just to take it a little personal, do you yourself have a yoga partner that you call home with?
Everyone is my yoga partner. Namaste.
Namaste. All right. You sound a lot like my ex-wife. And so what would you say is the biggest misunderstanding with yoga?
Great question.
Thank you.
I would say is that you actually have to be in shape to do it. A lot of people get worried. They're like, oh, like this takes too much muscle or whatever. But a lot of the positions that I do, you can do laying down. So it's very easy. I encourage people to eat a very large meal before they go do yoga. Drink as much liquid as you can.
Okay.
And, a couple of drinks doesn't hurt. Yeah, just loosen it all up.
Okay. Yeah, it sounds like there's probably a very floral, fragrant environment with your studio with these people nude and full of belly and full of spirits. I mean, does that lift your spirits when you see that taking place? Do you, I guess I would ask, how many days a week do you do this? Is it something you're heavily invested into?
I do yoga for about 17 hours a day, every day. Sorry. Again, getting emotional.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And how do you... Oh, go ahead, please.
I was going to say that's how you achieve some of your greatest goals in life is by doing things a ton. I actually performed at Jay-Z and Beyonce's wedding. Yeah.
Wow.
Instead of a dance floor, they wanted to do hot yoga. So I hosted it.
Okay. And what is hot yoga, if you don't mind teaching us a little bit?
Hot yoga is when a bunch of really attractive people get together and do yoga.
Yeah. Oh, okay. Okay.
Of course, Jay-Z was asked to leave the room.
Okay. I'm going to take a wild guess you're in Los Angeles.
I am in Los Angeles. Namaste.
Okay. Namaste. And Geez, so just maybe back to your 17 hours per day. So how is it that you stay well fed in a 17-hour yoga session? How do you keep a full belly that whole time?
Well, the only rules when you do yoga is that you have to hold the pose. If you can do other things while you're holding the pose, then that's totally fine. As you notice, my hands are together right now.
Yeah, I did notice that.
That's yoga. Namaste.
That's yoga. Namaste once more. All right. And geez, I mean, let's say if I'm trying to get into yoga, what would be your recommendations on how to do that?
My recommendation would be, first of all, buy my book.
Okay.
Feel what you taste. Also, come sign up at my studio. The first walkthrough is free. You bring your own weed pen, and we'll have a great time.
Interesting. For those of us that may not be familiar, was that a weed pen you said to bring?
Yes, absolutely.
But you're also doing yoga during this at the beginning.
Yes.
So I just love to hear how you manage all of that. It sounds like you've got a very full plate and a full belly.
I'm holding the same pose the entire time.
Uh-huh.
So, and I can talk while I do that.
Of course.
And I also have several assistants.
So. Okay. So are any of them, I don't know, wheeling around carts of dim sum to keep everyone well fed during this? I'm just curious what their roles are in this operation. It sounds fascinating.
They're a little bit like flight attendants.
Okay.
And I would actually call them flight attendants because you're on cloud 9 during your yoga session. Oh. Once you get the pose high, you're up there, man. And it's great.
Yeah, and the pose high doesn't have anything to do with the copious amounts of marijuana that everyone's smoking, does it? Are they two separate highs?
They are. Yeah. The weed pen is more like the icing high on the high cake.
Okay. So they're layers to the elatement.
Yes, absolutely.
Interesting. And do you have any challenges in your day? What is it that you struggle with? It sounds like you've got it all figured out, but I'm just curious if there's anything we haven't touched on.
Well, doing yoga 17 hours a day and holding these poses, sometimes certain things are a little bit difficult, like driving, for instance. You know, if my right leg is on my left shoulder and my arms are crossed like this, it can be a little bit treacherous out on that road. Not gonna lie. But no problem so far.
Yeah, and it's interesting because in this whole vision that I created in my head, I imagined you were in the studio the full 17 hours, but you're not. So you're in and out of the studio.
Correct. Nude. Yeah, studio. I have to go home. I volunteer to help children that are in need. Mostly they just need weed pens, but I still volunteer them. I go on hikes regularly. There's some really good yoga to be done on the top of mountains.
Okay.
So I like to, depending on my pose, hop, roll up there. So maybe crawl a little bit.
Sure.
Depending on the pose.
Of course.
Trying to alleviate. Yeah.
And you're still fully nude through all of this, though, correct? Because I believe we established that earlier.
Absolutely.
Okay. And is just throwing something wild out there, just out of curiosity, are some of your stressors potentially related to being nude from morning till end out in public, or consuming large quantities of food while also being high on marijuana? Is it possible that some of these are the stressors that you're looking to escape?
Absolutely not. No. Well, Frank, look, when was the last time you were naked for 72 hours?
I probably have to say the womb.
Right, the womb.
Right.
When was the last time you were high for 72 hours?
Oof. I have to say never.
And when was the last time you held a bleeding cactus pose for 72 hours.
Yeah, I mean, I might have to think about that one a little bit. Could you walk us through what the bleeding cactus is so that it could jog my memory?
Sure. Bleeding cactus is when you sort of reach backwards and touch the balls of your feet.
Okay.
And you roll on your stomach.
Uh-huh.
Yeah, that would be bleeding cactus pose.
Interesting. It sounds potentially painful in the genitalia area when you roll forward. How does one avoid that?
No. See, if you do enough yoga, your body sort of calluses, like when you play guitar.
Oh,
you on your fingers.
Uh-huh.
Yeah, yoga is the exact same way. All yoga.
So does that maybe explain why the nudity isn't an issue? Have you just developed such a massive callus down there that it just doesn't come off maybe as it might actually be?
It's possible.
It's possible. Okay. Yeah, that's really interesting. I hadn't thought about that until you mentioned it, but yeah, the yoga callus, it's something I'm going to have to maybe read up on before the call ends. Yeah, geez. I mean, I would have to, I think we're all going to want to pick up your book. Where can that be purchased?
You could find it on my website.
Okay.
Your yoga practice that is hosted by SidneyPierce.com. You could also shoot me an email.
Okay.
I rarely check those. I don't have a cell phone.
So maybe they shouldn't do that. Okay. So maybe we recommend the website.
Yes. If you buy the book on my website, someone will deliver it to you. I won't know, and I won't receive the money because I don't believe in it.
Interesting.
The book is $200 though.
Okay.
Yeah.
Is it a lot of chapters?
I feel like chapters is a box. I don't believe every book needs to be in.
Okay.
So the book is
one chapter, it sounds like.
I don't like the word chapter.
Okay. Sure.
It's about 750 pages.
Okay, so it's not brief, but that might warrant the cost. And do you believe in paragraphs?
I think that grammar was invented by a system that seeks to crush individuality. So I just was my most authentic self and wrote 750 pages of words.
Yeah, I mean, it might explain your not altogether brief website name. I think I can see a correlation there. Yeah, I mean, I think you've given a great resource to everyone. They know where to buy it. They know how to buy it. They know to start saving up so that they can afford it. Well, geez, I mean, I have to say one more time, I think, is it namaste?
Namaste.
Namaste. Okay, thank you. And what does that term mean, by the way?
Namaste. I'm pretty sure it means the privilege is mine.
Oh, interesting. Okay. So us going back and forth on that, sharing privilege. Okay, that makes sense.
It's all in the book.
It's all in the book. Okay, yeah, and like I said, I'll pick up a copy, and very excited to have one. And when it is delivered, wow! I mean, this has been a real whirlwind. It's the exact opposite of yoga that I'm going to need, because this was such a peaceful, informative session. But when the stressors of life comes back in, the mortgage, the divorce, the waning listener numbers, I think having that book, having access to your practice, I think is really going to help. So I've really hope that you've enjoyed having this platform to talk, and I'd love to hear if you could send out one message to the people out there that may be interested in yoga, what would that message be?
Sure. It doesn't matter if you're tall or short, big or small. Yoga is the answer. It doesn't matter if you went to school, didn't go to school, never seen a TV before, never read a word, never spoke a word, don't even know what math is.
Sure.
None of that matters. Because in my book, there's a pose for you.
Well, a real straight shooter, Sid. We'd love to have you back on the pod at some point. And, I hope you have a wonderful rest of your day, rest of your week. And thank you once more. Namaste once more. All right. And when we return, everyone, we're going to go to a quick break. When we're back, we're going to speak to John Stevenson, the inventor of the breakaway pants. We'll talk to you soon.
Namaste.